Hi there, guys. Welcome to Chasing a Murderer. And today we are working on part 68 of Life Beyond the Grave, which is attached to the Vallow case. And we are chugging along. I'm having to leave out some details, but we're getting there. You got to remember that this story's not been presented in the way that it truly was. And so that's what I'm trying my best to share it as I believe, based off the research, this case goes. It's very difficult to get interviews. I've never had that trouble before with people involved with this case because if you tell the truth, they don't want to talk to you. If you share their lies, well, they'll talk to you. That's excluding Kay and Larry. I've not really reached out to them ever. I don't need to. You can probably hear in my voice I'm still struggling a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to keep going anyway. And we are in 2018 where we are actually learning about Joe Ryan, his death, and how crazy, the things surrounding his death are. Doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. And the obituary that we found that suggests that for months, no one seemed to care or even try to find where Joe was. Now, let me share with you what I found Annie Cushion had to say about this. Annie Cushion said that the medical examiner called and informed her of Joseph Ryan's death. That's interesting to me based off that orbit. Anyways, later Cushion said Vallow lied about the date police called her. According to police records, an officer spoke with Vallow on April 13th of 2018. However, Annie Cushion said that Vallow told her police called her on April 18th of 2018. And so this doesn't make any sense according to the post where it said no one claimed his body for a month, well over a month. Annie Cushion said, why wouldn't she inform me that Joe had passed? Was she just writing out the clock in hopes that Joe would be cremated before the family had been notified that he passed? According to Cushion, Ryan was cremated by the county since there was no claim made for his remains. She continued with, when Joe died, there wasn't even an obituary for him. It was as if this guy passed without any recognition for his life. Even if there was a lot of animosity between them, you do that for your child. Well, Annie ought to know. She went to court. What Lori wanted to do had nothing to do with the child. Lori and Joseph hadn't gotten along since their divorce. Joseph tried with every fiber of his body to be in his daughter's life, but Lori wasn't having it unless something interfered with her plans and then she would let her daughter go hang out with dad. During the time that Joe was alive, he only lived a few miles away from his daughter in Maricopa County, Arizona, at least for a time, and he was downgraded from a large home to a small apartment in a small town. And as courts were still trying to settle these unsettling disputes between the two parents, at times Lori acts as though she will do anything to keep Joe away from the kids, while other times she is offering Joe endless opportunities to have Tylee in his life. All while Lori continued to accuse Joe Ryan of child abuse and other things that people and specialists involved with this case are not sure if these accusations are true. They found them not to be true, and they believe that Lori is creating these issues in order to control the situation. And what she says later is going to actually raise several red flags to Lori's mental status. And here's the thing, whether people admit it or not, it seems that everyone around Lori, including her parents, her children, everybody, her husband, they see this mental struggle that she's dealing with. Everyone except Lori. And a few months down the road, Lori's going to admit to a very dark secret. We're about to learn about that. 7 to 10 days, Joe had been passed away, and a neighbor and his dog, well, it's the neighbor's dog that is the only one that seemed to care. It was KSL TV They released 121 images that they got from the Phoenix Police Department the day that they discovered Joe in his apartment. And supposedly, the photos were taken because it was part of their investigation. How can you do an investigation if you haven't even located family members? They say that his death was not held suspicious, but how can they even do that when they didn't do a proper investigation? Ultimately, leading to his death, leading to a heart attack, and he was cremated. So there's nothing you can do now. Tylee receives survivor benefits, and life goes on as usual. Now, they did collect a few tissue samples and keep them, but really, that's just not enough to be able to do a true investigation because they had no idea what to look for, what they were dealing with. And when they go into his apartment, we notice that his apartment, it isn't horrible, but it also isn't immaculate and organized as we had heard Joe's Ryan to be. This man was living in the shadows of his flashy cars and big houses. And after Mary and Lori going through the divorce, we learn that he was financially strapped, something Joe never was ever experiencing until he met Lori and went through this divorce. An interesting note that we learn later, according to Adam Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, Lori gets $50K and Tylee gets $2K of the money Joe left. Does that sound right to you? Here's a clip from Adam Cox.
Lori and Alex planned Joe's death. And Lori found out that Joe molested her kids, supposedly. And Alex got upset, and Al said, I'll take care of him. And then they planned out how they were going to kill Joe. And Al was going to taser him, throw him in the trunk, and take him out to a field and shoot him, and then bury him. Well, Al went to taser him, and it didn't work, and Joe called the cops, and Al went to jail for 12 months. Yeah. So there's something with Lori and Alex that neither one of them are. Well, Alex is excommunicated from the church, and so he believes Lori because Lori's like, it doesn't matter what you do in this world. All you have to do is have a body, and you can be saved. You're just here to get a body. And Al loves that because then he can go sin and do whatever he wants. So he loves to hear what Lori has to tell him. And so I'm just telling you, man to man.
So there you go. There's more than enough evidence that points to the fact Lori and Alex have been in cahoots in planning dark things for a very long time, way before Chad Daybell come along. And here's the thing, there's a hint. I'm not sure when Alex Cox is referring to this, but Lori says it doesn't matter what you do in this lifetime because all you're here to do is get a body. That is toxic in itself. So I wanted to share that information. I thought it was important. So let's go ahead and start moving ahead in this timeline. Oops, I almost forgot though. We're going to mention Larry and Kay Woodcock, especially Kay Woodcock in this part, because she says, now I don't put Kay, her background in here too much because she doesn't have anything to be worried about. There's nothing to talk about. We know that she was going to adopt her grandson because her son was having some issues. They know they're older. They turned the child over to Lori and Charles, thinking he would have siblings and he would have a younger parents, and that would be better for him. But Kay Woodcock says that she and Larry, they would go and visit them as much as they could. They said they were living in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and they had come for a visit, and Lori was driving Kay to the airport. Kay, it seems like Lori asked her if she knew, what happened to Joe, and Kay says, yeah, what happened? According to Dateline with Keith Morrison, Kay says, she says, he's so evil and God took him. God took him because he was too evil to be on this earth. And now we don't have to worry about him anymore. I always found that kind of interesting because if she believes in multiple lives, like we think she does in this timeline, the Does she not think that this applies to Joe? Lori also tells Kay that Tylee doesn't have to deal with him. Kay asks Lori, well, what would happen? What's going on? Now, what Lori says next is very key here. She says he was dead for like 3 weeks and nobody even missed him. He was that evil and nobody wanted to be around him. But they smelled a smell. That's how they found him. Lori tells Kay it was a mess and that he is dead and left her a little insurance policy of $75,000 and Tylee receives Social Security payments. I mean, do you really think, guys, that Joe Ryan left Lori anything? Absolutely not. She says that she specifically was the beneficiary of his policy, not Tylee. Do y'all believe that? You would think, though they can't investigate, Joseph Ryan's death, you would think that they could at least look deeper into this policy because there's no way Joe Ryan left her money. It's just so sad, guys. This is such a sad case. So that's what Kay Woodcock had to share with us about Joe Ryan. Sorry for the hiccups. You need to remember that later on in the future, if you know this story, Charles Vallow is going to face some problems as well. And one of the things that Lori Vallow says about Charles is, if something happens to you, no one's going to care. And we'll get to that pretty soon. Why do you think she says this? So after Annie found this out, I forgot to share this, she said she vowed that she would have nothing else to do with Lori Vallow. So, according also to a few articles, Annie says that Lori Vallow brings up the end times at least 3 different times that she's aware of, and that it was an increasing sense of urgency. But she also kind of says that she seems scared, but that doesn't seem to fit the narrative to me. I don't think Lori was scared. I think she was wondering, how can I, get ahead on this? Now, something a lot of people notice about Lori Vallow is when someone dies or someone's getting hurt, her demeanor is, well, it's like it never happened. So that's very important, because I did notice that Lori seems detached from her children, everyone, even and discouraging her own daughter from mourning her father. So it's around June 5th of 2018, and Chad finishes writing his Times of Turmoil book series. He said he felt prompted to finish that. He felt prompted to speak at the Arizona conference in July. Supposedly, he contacts author Melenie Gibb and arranges a joint speaking event with these guys, okay? So this is before October, when Melanie said that she first spoke with Chad. That makes sense to me because you got all these podcasts and stuff going right now. So in June, there's a podcast where Chad quits his day job and reclaims liberty. And I also noticed that Chad's demeanor kind of changes a little bit here. He's talking about the future being different. He says he sees himself being in better shape, and it's probably because of the lack of fast food. Many of us suspect that this dramatic change of mind had to do with much more than fast food. He's doing quite a bit of traveling and a lot of speaking. So what is Chad talking about in these podcasts? Well, he's talking, he's plugging his books like Reclaiming Liberty, Days of Fury series. Chad also gives us a sneak preview of what to expect in the future and other things. Chad also discusses why he chose a flaming eyeball for Julie Rowe's brand new book written by Eric Smith, Rising Above the Flames. Interestingly, during this time, this is very important, I think, according to this information on this podcast, anyways, Chad and Julie have an upcoming book that they're writing together. And they're going to have a signing in Sugar City Friday at the Central Elementary, 102 Park Avenue. Chad will also share why he got the heck out of Utah and while he's going back briefly. They also are plugging Preparing a People event. So Chad and James, be Michael James or Nancy James, I don't know which one, discussed 3 amazing Preparing a People special events this year that he will be speaking at, which will be September 15th in Brigham City, Utah. Preparing a People Dream and Visions, the workshop, October 26th through 27th. And as well as this St. George, Utah, Preparing a People special event, Bring into Light Hidden Things. Here you go, guys. Bring in the light of hidden things, okay? The power of personal revelation. So that'll be around November 16th through 17th in Mesa. And let's see. Who all's going to be involved with these kind of things? You got Jason Mao, Chad Daybell, Mike Stroud, Mike Simpson, Bruce Porter, Hector Sosa Jr., Sean Littlebear, Rush Barlow, Thor, Ray Elder. You got Melanie Gibb. Oh my gosh, Julie Rowe. The list goes on and on. Excuse environmental changes, guys. So some of the things that Chad is also going to be speaking about is new dreams and visions of his own, near-death experiences, and then he'll talk about his role as an editor and publisher for a little bit. So a lot of plugging books is going on at these little Preparing a People conferences. Also, during this time, Julie Rowe is really starting to be a little bit more outspoken about her belief systems. This includes past lives, mortal probation, which means that people who are Mormon, who have lived multiple lives here on Earth, maybe even different planets. And I have a date here, which will be June 27th. And Julie will be talking about her near-death experience on a podcast. So again, Lori hasn't met Chad, according to them anyways, during this time, but this is stuff that she's listening to. So again, I want to remind you what Chad Daybell's books describe his visions. And well, they believe that the United States government will require humans to receive a microchip. And these are implanted under your skin. Now, everybody that knows China and Russia, you just don't know what to expect with them, and people have always been worried about them. But he's pushing back then, and it should already happen, that you're going to be invaded by Chinese and Russian forces with the help of the United Nations. Well, the way things are going, that's not hard to kind of guess that could be a possibility if things didn't go well. But these are not going to be visions from God. This is going to be because of man's greed. This is something that's gone on since the day men walked this earth. But Chad is saying that this is going to take a big part in giving you a sign that the second coming is coming. I mean, we've seen men take lands from each other since forever. Now, Chad Daybell's best-selling novel, The Great Gathering, which is from his Standing in Holy Places series, he wrote this on his website. The book is based on the near future when main characters Tad and Emma North and their children live in the United States is growing increasingly wicked. The Norths and their extended family notice that many of the Latter-day Saints are being deceived by alluring temptations, and they wonder how much longer the Lord will allow American society to continue its downward spiral. Now remember, Chad Daybell, along with Julie Rowe, they're planning to film documentaries and stuff based off of their visions or books. But these things start to cancel out. These ideas are changing. Chad's shifting directions. So right now, there's some reports coming out on Alex Cox. I guess I'll tried to plug in a few of those reports here for you guys. And so, yeah, of course, we still have Julie Rowe plugging away how she was taken to the spirit world, was shown future world events. She also is starting to appear on several radio shows on top of her podcast and a few Preparing the People conferences. And it's around this time that she's jumping back and saying, it's not since I had my near-death experience that I've had these visionary gifts. This started back when I was a child. And so, as you know, David Warwick is within this circle of people. We're not talking a whole lot about him and Melenie Gibb, but just a lot of people believe they may be innocent. I question that. David Warwick has an amazing memory. He has timelines that he has written down specifically from way, way back of all these special visions and things that happen in his life, dreams, night visions. And David Warwick he's hanging out with Mike and Nancy as well, making podcasts. And they say that he has these honest insights that will impact on our lives and others who benefited from his honest insights and humble introspection. David Warwick has an ego. He also believes that he has a very special gift of dreams and visions of the future. You can check it out for yourself by going to see the Dreams and Vision Workshop, September 15th of 2018 in Brigham City, Utah. So here you go, Preparing the People. You can see here they are more than aware of what they're invoking here. And they are well aware of the fear that is instilled into these people. Now remember, David Warwick used to be in the gang. He's very good at manipulating people into seeing him in the light he wants. He's good at hiding who he really is and only exposing what he wants people to see. And why are these groups so set on, defying the church? Well, they believe that the church they're kind of ignoring John Smith. This includes ignoring some of the teachings such as reincarnation. A very, very dangerous group. And so that's not good. Nancy and Michael James, they will interview Chad and promote their Preparing the People conferences, and we'll show a clip of that shortly. And they admit that they followed Chad Daybell to Rexburg. Now, it's around this time that we're learning that Lori claims that she's having difficulty sleeping and that she's speaking to angels. They're waking her up and giving her long to-do list. Sounds like something her husband has to do with her as well. She says, I no longer get to sleep very much and am woken up constantly by angels. So Lori is struggling with voices in her head. This is something that starts before she meets Melanie, before she meets Chad. It appears that she's kind of struggling with all the maybe directional lists that Charles has given her, like taking care of JJ. She doesn't appear to like that very much. That's my opinion. That is not fact. Maybe that's why she's kind of referring to these angels and the to-do list. Maybe these things are mixing. You must understand that Lori's very stressed out with the kids during this time. JJ is not easy to handle. He has autism, and Lori, she understands this in some aspects. I think she doesn't really grasp the understanding. I don't think she was ever really a good mom. The medicine to her is a way to use to give her a break, not to medicate him or to help him get better. JJ is having to go to a special school. His dad, Charles Vallow, has gotten him a dog to help him get through all of these difficulties. And we hear them refer to Lori as long as she's cooking them dinner, she's doing okay. That's always been concerning to me. Why would they make that statement? So Charles seems to love Lori, but he gives a hint, as well as several other family members, that maybe she's not all together. And the whole family seems to do whatever they need to do to overlook anything that they find alarming, to look past that, and to, just support her and keep her moving forward. So Lori really doesn't know how to relate to kids, in my opinion. She teaches them drama. She uses them to make things happen the way she wants them to happen. There really isn't any love and support to those kids, and it's very sad. Lori just seems to me, in my research, that she's very disconnected from everybody, even the people closest to her in her life, her parents. So something that is interesting here is Lori Vallow. She's close with Alex Cox, but her relationship with him gets closer and closer the deeper she gets into this religion. She's trying to push everybody she knows into listening to Julie Rowe podcasts and to read Chad Daybell's books. She's also starting to bring in her niece, who she wasn't so active with at one point. Now she's getting closer and closer to Melenie Boudreau, who has a normal family. But Melanie Boudreau is getting awfully interested in what her Aunt Lori has to say. In fact, Melanie Boudreau, she's going to listen to these podcasts. She's going to read these books. She's even going to go to a few of these events in the future with her Aunt Lori. So some of the podcasts that they're listening to is Julie Rowe, where she is teaching that you can find yourself surrounded in dark energy sometimes, referred to emotional energy sometimes, and can call on spirits to take that away. She'll talk about spiritual energy or negative energy. A lot of times the negative energy refers to abuse, depression, murder. And we'll go into more details on that part later, but a lot of the negative energies, well, they pertain to Satan himself, who brings that energy into the room. And Julie is taking this energy code stuff she's learning and incorporating it into their teachings and doctrines attached to the Mormon religion itself. So she's creating this whole new group of people who are indoctrinating this stuff. And we'll go more into that on the next part of the series. Okay, guys, I'm trying to do this quickly. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Just don't forget to share some of our missing faces.